What's up guys, Boost Auto here. Today we're going to be showing you how to install 2023 style Ram tow mirrors. This installation is going to be outlined for 2019 to 2022 Ram 25 and 3500 trucks. With that said, let's get into it. Introducing our 2023 style Ram tow mirrors for 2019 to 2022 Ram 2500 and 3500 trucks. Upgrade your truck with Boost Auto's premium 2023 style Ram tow mirror, precision engineered and fully customizable to reflect your build's personality. Choose from a range of customizable options to create a look that's uniquely yours. Make a statement day or night with either a crisp white or sleek amber running light, and level up your presence with our signature startup sequence that sets the tone the moment you fire up your truck. It's not just about the looks, but also about the functionality. Boost your utility with optional forward and rear facing spotlights, perfect for lighting up work sites, back roads, or campsites. Easily control it all by utilizing our Boost Auto wireless upgrade kit, putting powerful lighting at your fingertips. With Boost Auto's 2023 style Ram tow mirrors, you're not just upgrading a part, you're upgrading your entire driving experience. A couple things to note before we get in the install. First, the procedure outline in this video is for 2019 to 2022 Ram 2500 and 3500 trucks. If your vehicle is a different year range, head on over to boostauto.com for the latest in fitment and availability and to purchase all we have to offer. Let's get into it. Alright guys, the first thing we're going to do to begin the installation is we're going to go ahead and roll both of our front windows down just to make it easier to remove the mirror later on. We can go ahead and disconnect the negative terminal on our primary battery. If you have an auxiliary battery, disconnect the negative terminal on that as well. Now starting on the driver's side, we're going to remove the door panel. So to begin, we're going to remove this upper panel here. Behind it, you might have an electrical connector. If you do, just go ahead and disconnect that, as well as this little trim retaining clip. Remove the window switch with the trim tool. Pull that up and out. Disconnect any of the electrical connectors on the back side. Now remove the trim panel behind the door handle. Now we're going to remove this Phillips head just behind that trim panel. We're going to remove this entire bezel here now. Just guide it around the handle there. And we can disconnect any electrical connectors we have on the back side of it. Now we're going to remove the 6 T20 trim screws. So we're just going to use a flat blade screwdriver or a pick. Start turning it, get behind it, and that just helps the screw come out like so. Once all our torque screws are removed, we're just going to come back and pop the trim clips that they threaded into out. Now we can lift up on our panel. We want to make sure that it fully clears that lock rod before we pull out on it. Unplug any electrical connectors from the door panel. We're now going to proceed with disconnecting the mirror harness from the door module right here. If your mirror has any additional connectors separate from the door module, disconnect them at this time. Then we can disconnect our harness clips, retaining the harness to the inner door panel here. Now we're going to remove these 3 10mm nuts securing the mirror to the door. I find it easiest to just reach a hand through the open window and hold the mirror up while you remove the nuts. Once those nuts are removed, we can pull the mirror free from the door and just guide our harness back through this hole in the door here. Now with your 2023 style Ram mirrors, take the harness end and feed it through the hole in the door. I'm going to continue feeding the harness all the way through. Guide the mirror into the mounting holes on the door. Now we're going to reinstall our 3 10mm nuts. Okay, now we're going to take the connectors on the very end of our mirror harness here and we're going to plug them into the corresponding slots on the door module. So the white one's going to go first, and we got the black one. And then this last green connector here, this may or may not be present on all mirrors. So if you have it, go ahead and plug it in. If you don't worry about it. We can move on to securing the rest of our mirror harness to the inside of the door here. All right guys, at this point in time, we can go ahead and repeat all the same steps we did here up until this point on the passenger side of the vehicle, and then we'll move on to the next section. If you did not option for the forward-facing spotlight and did not option for the wireless rear spotlight, your rear-facing lights will function as a puddle light. If this is your case, you will not receive the wireless upgrade kit and you can skip to the next section. We will now be discussing the optional wireless module kit. If you option for the forward-facing spotlight or the rear-facing spotlight with the wireless upgrade kit, you'll receive these wireless modules with their corresponding harnesses. The driver's side has 2 harnesses and the module will have 2 plugins. The passenger side is only going to have 1 harness and 1 plug-in on the module. There are a couple of different options you could have chose for your 2023 style Ram mirrors. Each option requires a slightly different method of installation. The first option being that you optioned for front and rear spotlight. The second option is if you did not option for front spotlight, but you did option for rear spotlight. Both options 1 and 2 will follow these same steps for tapping for the wireless module. We will revisit the different steps required for each option later in this section. To begin, we'll find our way back to the driver's side door where we plugged in our mirror connectors. We're going to locate this connector on the right-hand row of the module in the middle. So we're going to go ahead and unplug that. All right, we're now going to be working with the wires on the back side of this connector here. So if you're looking at it like this from the back side with the latch at the top, we're going to be tapping to pin 5 and pin 1. Pin 5 is the wire in the slot all the way to the left side, and pin 1 is the wire in the slot all the way to the right side. We're just going to go ahead and cut a little bit of this harness tape back. Now we're going to grab a blue T-tap from our driver's side module kit. Pop that onto the wire in pin 5. Grab a pair of pliers if you need to help press it down until it clicks. Okay, now we're going to grab another blue T-tap from the kit and do the same with the wire in pin 1. At this point, we can grab our driver's side wireless module harness with the spade connectors here like this. And we're gonna take the spade connector that's on the red wire here, and we're gonna go ahead and plug that into the T-tap that we placed on pin 5. Now we're gonna take the spade terminal that is on the black wire here, and we're gonna go ahead and connect that into the T-tap that we put on pin 1. Once those are connected like so, we can take our main connector here and plug that back into the door module. Just make sure to plug it all the way in until it clicks. We have now reached the point where there will be 2 different methods of installation based on the options you chose. We will first go over installation for it you optioned for front and rear spotlight. First thing we'll do, we're going to grab the harness from the wireless module with the 8-pin connector. Take these 2 wide connectors and plug them into the corresponding connectors from the mirror harness. For rear-facing spotlight, take the connector from the mirror harness with the orange and white wire and plug it into the connector with the yellow and blue wire from the wireless module harness. For forward-facing spotlight, take the connector with the pink wire from the mirror harness, plug it into the connector from the wireless module with the 2 orange wires. Now we will go over the installation process in the case that you optioned for rear spotlight only. If you option for only rear-facing spotlight, this is what your mirror harness is going to look like. I've got my harness with the 8-pin connector from the wireless module with these 2 wide connectors on the end. I'm going to plug these into their corresponding connectors on the mirror harness. Now I've got my harness from the wireless module with the 6-pin connector. I'm going to take the connector with the blue and yellow wire and plug it into the connector with the white and orange wire from the mirror harness. The connector with 2 orange wires is not going to be used in this scenario. Go ahead and take it back. Now, both options will follow these last steps to complete the installation of the wireless module. Take the remaining 2 connectors from the harnesses and plug them into the driver's side wireless module. And then we can move on to mounting our module. We want to find a spot that we can mount it that it's not going to interfere with our door panel. Once we have it mounted, we can just tie up the extra slack on our harnesses here.
Here's what ours looked like after mounting the module and securing the harness to the door.
We can move on to the passenger side and repeat all these same steps.
The passenger side follows the same steps as the driver's side, but the module only has one connector, and you'll only have the one harness with the fuse on it. If you did not option for running light or your mirrors originally had running light, skip to the next section.
Now we can grab one of our running light wire harnesses, and we're just going to go ahead and plug this into the corresponding connector on the mirror harness. And then we can move on to routing this through the boot and into the cab. All right, we're gonna start by disassembling the door jamb boot assembly here, as we need to get our running light wire through it and into the cab. So starting off, there's two T20 bolts securing the boot to the door, so we can remove those.
Now we're going to disconnect these two clips on the weather stripping.
Now we can kind of pull that out of place there. Now we can move on to disconnecting the cab side of the boot. So there's going to be 4 clips, 2 up top and 2 on the bottoms. You can just close the door slightly. That helps get a little more room. Now, depending on trim level, you're going to have 2 or 3 connectors on the back side here. We can get to disconnecting those. Okay, with the connectors disconnected, we can just feed this back through the other side of this weather stripping here. Now on the door side of the boot here, we're gonna have this plastic cover as well as some tape securing it. We need to cut the tape and we can remove that plastic cover. As for the plastic cover here, there's 2 clips on this end here, one there. Pry behind those. I'm using my hands, or you can use a trim tool to help do this as well. Then we can just set that free. Now we can tape our running light wire to a straightened out metal piece. So now with our door jamb boot assembly, we're first gonna run the straightened out metal piece through that plastic piece like that. We can continue routing it through the boot itself. We're gonna want our wire to come out the center cavity here. We just continue pulling some slack through. Okay, now that we got our running light wire through the boot, we're gonna have to remove a little bit of the interior trim to be able to access the straightened out metal piece when we go to pass it through the hole in the cab. So we're first gonna remove our sill plate here. You can use a trim tool or just try and grab underneath it, pull to the rear of the vehicle, and that'll pop out. So just behind the sill plate we just removed, and just to the left of the parking brake here, there's this rubber cover with a push pin fastener. So we're gonna pop this out to reveal the hole that we're gonna be feeding our harness through. All right, now with our harness still taped to our straightened out metal piece, we're first gonna feed it behind this weather stripping on the door here, and then we're gonna bring it into that hole in the cab, and we can pull it out on the other side by that plastic cover. Then we can just continue pulling most of our slack into the cab. Then we can move on to reassembling our door jamb boot. We can start by clipping this plastic piece back into place. Just line up those tabs and push them back in. And we can re-secure some tape on the back side. All right, now we're gonna feed the door jamb boot assembly back into place. So I'm just gonna pull some slack on that running light wire back through on the cab side while I feed this back into position. As we get it under the weather stripping there, we can start plugging our electrical connectors back in.
Once you have the electrical connectors plugged back in, you can reinstall the door jamb boot connector into the cab.
Then we can pop the door side back into place and re-clip our weather stripping, and then we'll re-secure those T20 Torx bolts. All right guys, now we can repeat all the same steps with our running light wire on the passenger side.
To feed the running light wire from the passenger side over to the driver's side, we will have to remove the blower motor cover underneath the glove compartment.
You might have an electrical connector on the back side of it. If you do, just go ahead and unplug that. We're gonna go ahead and tape our running light wire to a straightened out metal piece. Then we'll proceed with feeding it underneath the dash to the driver's side. We're gonna take the passenger side wire as well as the driver's side wire, and we're gonna tape both of them to a straighten out metal piece, and we're gonna feed them through a grommet underneath the driver's side dash and into the engine bay. Okay, once we've got our wires into the engine bay here, we're gonna be tapping them to the fuse box. We're gonna take the top off of our fuse box here. So now we're gonna be using a fuse tap to tap the fuse number 79 in the underhood fuse box. So that's gonna be this fuse right here. So first we're gonna go ahead and just remove that. Now we're gonna install the fuse we just removed on the open slot of our fuse tap. Then we can take our fuse tap and install it into the fuse number 79 location, like so. Now we can grab our passenger side and driver side running light wires, and we're gonna measure that up to the end of our fuse tap here, and then we're gonna cut both of them. We can strip the ends. Once we got the ends stripped on both wires, we're gonna twist them together. Then we're gonna combine them into the butt connector end of our fuse tap and crimp them down. Once we got our fuse tap installed and our wires crimped to the fuse tap, we can take our fuse box cover and reinstall that.
First, on the passenger side, we will reinstall the blower motor cover. Now, in the driver's side footwell, we will resecure the trim clip on the rubber cover.
Just to make it a little bit easier to install this sill plate, I'm just gonna slightly peel back the weather stripping right here. Now we can feed the front end of the sill plate in, clip that front end in. Now I'm just gonna feed that weather stripping back into place. We can clip the bottom side in.
Now onto the door panel. First, reconnect any electrical connectors. Feed all your door switch connectors into their appropriate spots in the door panel.
Then we can take the panel up. First, feed in the lock rod. First, gonna engage the top of the trim panel.
Pull it down and push it into place.
Now we can pop all our trim clips around the outer edges of the door panel back into place. We can reinstall the T20 Torx bolt.
Plug the electrical connectors back into the window switch and then reinstall it into the door panel. Plug in any electrical connectors present into the handle bezel. Feed the bezel back through the handle and clip it into place.
Then we can just reinstall our Phillips head screw here. Now we can just pop our trim cover back on over that screw.
Reconnect any electrical connectors to the corner trim panel as well as the harness retaining clip and then clip it back into place.
Now we can go ahead and reinstall the negative terminal on our primary battery, and if you do have an auxiliary battery, reconnect the negative terminal on that as well. Alright guys, lastly here, for those of you that either option for the forward-facing spotlight or the rear-facing spotlight with the wireless upgrade kit, your spotlights are going to function from the mirror glass adjust switch here. So to get them to work, we're gonna select the left mirror, then we're gonna do left, left, right, right on the D-pad here. You'll hear the modules beep twice. That's them powering on.
When the module is activated, you will not be able to adjust the driver mirror.
So once you hear them beep twice, you can do the up arrow to turn the forward-facing spotlights on, or the bottom arrow to turn the rear-facing spotlights on. To turn them off, you just hit the arrows again.
You may notice the passenger side lights illuminate slightly after the driver's side due to the modules communicating from side to side.
And then to turn the modules off so you can adjust your mirrors and have normal function on your mirror glass adjust here, you can either do left, left, right, right again, and then you'll hear the modules beep 3 times signifying that they've shut off. Or you can just wait 10 seconds and they will time off and shut off on their own. And then you will have restored function of your mirror glass adjust.
When the module is deactivated, the left adjust on the driver mirror will be delayed, preventing erratic operation of the module. If you do not have turn signal or puddle light functionality on your factory mirrors and you option for a programming and bypass module with your mirrors, please reference a separate Boost Auto installation video to enable those features.
Okay guys, that's going to conclude it for this install. As you can see, these mirrors look super sharp and the mirror lights tie in extremely well with all of our other products, such as the LumiStep M2 and the cab lights that you see on this truck here. So if you want to pick yourself up a set of these mirrors or any other of our products, head on over to boostautoparts.com today. With that said, we will catch you guys in the next one. The products shown in this video and so much more can be purchased on our website at boostauto.com. We're proud to offer a wide variety of products, parts, and accessories for your truck or SUV that will take your build to the next level. To watch videos like this one and to find out about our newest innovative products for your vehicle, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's all for now. We'll catch you in the next one.